and then I'll hit the record button, and then I'll just do an introduction and hand over to Ben. I'm going to spotlight. And then I'll hit the record button, and then I'll just do an introduction and hand over to Ben. And put YouTube on mute. So good evening to those of us on YouTube, and good evening to everybody else. If everyone's happy, I'll hit the record button, and then I'll do a quick introduction and make a start. Find where it is now. There we go. Okay, good evening everyone, and a very big welcome to Denby Dale Radio Club Online, and a happy new year to everybody. I think as people came in, I did find you all and say hello to you all, but delighted to see you and joining our meeting tonight. I'd like to give a very, very big welcome to Ben, GW4BML, who I spotted as being one of the people behind a fabulous venture that they got up to in Wales last year, and I'll leave Ben to talk about that. But Ben was very happy to come along and talk to us on the nice, lovely, generic subject of radios and rucksacks, which is for all of us that go up in the hills is definitely a pertinent description. So Ben, I'm not going to steal any more thunder, other than to say that Ben is a member of the RSGB board as well, which is Ben is also a board member of the RSGB. So welcome as well, Ben, in that capacity. I think we had the general manager of the RSGB appeared at one of our early Zoom meetings after COVID, but you're only the second person who's associated with the board that's come along to give us a talk. So Ben, I'm going to say no more and hand the microphone over to you.
Okay, thank you very much. I'll say good evening, Nick, and thank you ever so much for the invite. And good evening to everybody that's logged on and listening. Yeah, as Nick said, my name is Ben Lloyd, Golf Whiskey 4 Bravo Mike Lima. And some of you may have heard my call sign, calling stroke portable from the hills all over the UK, I suppose all over the world. This evening, I'm going to give a presentation on portable operating. It's called Radio and Rucksack. I'm going to run briefly and describe portable operating. I'm going to run through a few examples. I'm going to explain the benefits, some generic, and then some that's from my personal experience, which I found from activating out in the field. I'm going to go through my rucksack in detail, what I use, and then I'm going to end with some stories and adventures, and then we can have a questions and answers time if you have any at the end. And also, yes, as Nick said, I am one of the RSGB board directors. So if you do have any questions or anything, I can try and support you on that as well. So I'm going to try my best to share my screen to see if this works, and to get my presentation up. So can everybody see my presentation? How's that work, Nick? Can you see the presentation? Yeah, perfect. Okay, so let's start. What is portable operating? Portable operating is usually signified by amateur radio operators appending the suffix stroke P to their call sign. So for example, when I go operating in Wales, I'm Golf Whiskey 4 Bravo Mike Lima stroke portable, and G4 BML stroke portable if I'm in England, and so on and so forth. What does portable operating mean? Operating stroke portable normally means that amateur stations are operating away from their licensed station address. So a few examples of portable operating. You could be on holiday, just in a caravan, camper van, activating portable. Operating from a park. I did hear parks on the air I think it was Bob that just brought it up earlier. That's a very popular scheme where you activate portable. Walking your dog. It's quite a nice one. This one is. I used to live on top of a hill, about 1,200 foot in mid Wales, and believe it or not, I used to work from home full time, and I used to monitor S20, the calling channel on 2 meters, and pretty much every day I'd have someone call in CQ. From a hill, walking their dog that they've taken their handheld with them. So it was a very popular one in mid Wales. That was dog walking portable. You could be at a field day when you hold club field days and that where you could set up a portable station. Pedestrian portable chilling, just taking your radio out to a park or in a quiet place to activate. Or most important, which I'm going to concentrate on a little bit today, from a mountain. So the benefits of going portable. I'm just going to run through 5 generic benefits of going portable, which are generic, and then I'm going to run through 5 where I've experienced myself from activating portable all over the world. So number 1, I think is the most important, is low noise and interference level. So there's nothing worse than experiencing high noise level. This normally occurs at your home QTH station due to many electronical appliances. EDSL Wi-Fi routers are quite bad. They cause interference, especially this time of year. All kids love it, but amateurs really hate it. Christmas lights, that really does affect me where I live now. It gives me a good S9 of noise, so I'm glad that 12 days is gone after Christmas. So what's the benefit? When going portable, your noise level is S1, sometimes S0. You're out of all the towns, the villages, you're in the middle of nowhere, and you'll find that you can hear the really, really faint stations. I've worked quite a lot of stations before now when I'm portable, and the home base stations that are calling to me have asked me before now, who am I talking to? Because they are struggling. They've got about 3 or 4 S3 or 4 of noise, whereas I've got S0 to S1 of noise, and that's the difference. I can hear them and they can't. So you should try it. It really does work. Antenna experiments. This is another key. So due to your garden space at your home QTH, this is what I've got at the moment. You can't get the best out of each band. So for example, 160 meters or 80 meters, it's quite a lot of wire. You've got 80 meters of wire in the sky if you want a resonant dipole for top band, 160 meters, and 40 meters of wire in the sky for 80. It's a lot of wire. So what's the benefit? When going portable, you have the space to try out different antennas you cannot do at home. We started, me and a friend last year, doing something called a midweek madness. And we did it over, it's the bonus season for Summits on the Air. And every Wednesday evening, we decided to go out stroke portable from high hills in Wales and activate top band. So we had 80 meters of wire in the sky on a 10-meter pole, and we got some really good interest. We were having up to 40 stations calling into us on top band, sideband, and CW. It was fantastic. So it's definitely worth a go. Good advert for the hobby. So operating outside, visible to the public eye, enables interest and questions will be asked. I've sat there, I've been calling CQ, talking to people, my antenna's in the sky, got the radio, I'm working CW, beep, 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 beeps going on. Sometimes they think think you're a spy or something like that, what you're doing on top of a hill. But no, the general public, they'll come up to you, they'll ask a question. I always approach them in a real polite manner, tell them what I'm doing, and the majority of them really, really enjoy what you're telling them. And another good thing that the SOTA Summits on the Air scheme has done is create a little cotton QR code. So I've got one which is sewn onto my hat, my cap that I wear, and I've got one that's sewn onto my badge. So instead of speaking to the people for ages and confusing them a little bit of what you're doing, I just ask them to scan it with my phone. Scan it with their phone, because most people have got smartphones these days, and it just brings up the website and tells you exactly what the SOTA scheme is about. So that really works. So what's the benefit? When going portable, you receive interest in the hobby and could get more folk wanting to try it. They're interested in it. It's something different. So if you're getting slightly bored of operating from home, then try out new things. Looking for something new? Go portable operating. The benefit is when going portable, it's a new part of the hobby to you. You may like it, and it opens more doors than just one, than just staying in your shack. And then moving on from that point, it's good for you. Amateur radio outside offers fresh air and the chance of exercise. In my opinion, there's nothing better than this. What's the benefit? When going portable, you can do the both and above and include your hobby. So next, I'm going to move on and give you some, so some what I've experienced. I've personally benefited from doing a scheme called SOTA, Summits on the Air. I'm very passionate about this scheme, and I'm out pretty much every week, to be fair. I'm not going to concentrate too much on SOTA because that's another presentation, and you can find out more by visiting the website, which is www.sota.org.uk. I'm going to move on, and the next five are going to be what I've personally benefited from my own activating. So great takeoff. Portable operation from hilltops and open spaces offer unobstructed takeoffs. I really like this. 2 meters is great when you're in the middle of Wales on a high mountain, or England, Scotland, or Ireland, or anywhere in the world, and you call out CQ on 2 meters. It's just the excitement to what call sign you're going to hear that comes back to you. I've been activating in South Wales before now on the high mountains, calling CQ on 2 meters, and I've had a golf mic station from Scotland come back to me over as the crow flies 300 miles. It's a really, really good feeling when that happens, and you're pushing QRP 5 watts. It really does work. So the benefit when going portable, you never know where your signal is going to end up in the world. The excitement. Also, I'm a very early bird, so I'm usually up at the crack of dawn, and I'm on a summit by 7 o'clock. And I've got a few friends from Australia, I've managed to make contact with them and had a good, say, 2-3 minute chat, using 5 watts to their 5 watts over the air at about 7 to 7:30 in the morning, and that's just using a horizontal 20-meter end-fed half wave. So yeah, it's the excitement is really, really good. QRP becomes a lot easier. Now, although I'm a G4, I'm not what you'd call a proper G4. I was my call sign, a little bit of a story. I've always been BML. I was M7 BML, 2W0 BML, and BML stands for Ben Martha Lyra, which is my family. I wanted to call sign with BML, and unfortunately both M's, M0 and M1 were taken, one in Ireland and one in Scotland. So the only available call sign was G4. So that's the story, G4 BML, why I am GW4 BML. So going on from that, struggling to get out or call into stations from your home QTH using QRP, I've been in M7. I know what it's like. Pushing 10 watts, I've been shouting and shouting down the microphone to try my best to get into stations, and you've got the louder and stronger powered stations, which unfortunately are basically overriding you, and they can't hear you. Now, when you do a scheme, Parks on the Air, SOTA, Summits on the Air, it's the chases work. So how the tables turn. It doesn't matter if you're pushing 1 watt out. It doesn't matter if you're pushing 10 watts out. Those chasers are listening for you. So you are in control now when you're working portable, doing a scheme. So realistically, less is more. Let them do the hard work. You're just calling. They want to get you. So in other words, QRP becomes very, very powerful when you're portable, especially doing a scheme. So the benefit when going portable, the stations or chasers are listening for you. Always remember that, how the tables turn. Fine tune your op skills. Now, this is another good one that I learned. Ever worked a pilot or had to listen with your ear stuck against the radio speaker? I'm quite lucky my little one logs for me. Well, not quite. She's getting a bit older, so maybe soon. But no. So basically, when you call CQ SOTA, you could have anything from 30 stations, basically just key in 40 stations at the same time down the microphone. So you have to listen carefully and really, really, really work the pilot. So it's practice. If you go out portable and practice this, it comes natural. With me, I really enjoy a pileup. I do 80-meter contesting quite a lot. So just to try and improve my skills as well. But portable operating really does tune your operating skills. Moving on from that, signal reports. When you do have a pileup, sometimes the weather isn't the best. So you've got rain coming down, hitting you from every direction, hitting your eyes, going up your nose, bouncing off. Snow's there, it's frosty. So you can't really look at the radio and give a true report on every activation. Sometimes it's impossible. So I have 4 magical numbers, which I always use. I start off with 5-9, which is I don't never give a 5-9 plus. I try just 5-9. If they're 5-9 to me, it's the best that you can get. If I'm struggling now and again, they can't hear me, I'll shout out top of the shop. As long as I can get that word shop in somewhere and they can hear shop, they know that it's top of the shop. It's 5 and 9. It usually works 9 times out of 10. My next number is 5 and 5. They're perfectly readable, but just not as strong as a 5-9. It's just 2 easy numbers. And you can just keep shouting them if they're struggling. 5-5, 5-5, 55. Keep going for it. They'll soon get it. And then you can understand the rest. 4-4 and 3-3. 4-4, you can hear them, but they're a bit crackly. And 3-3, they are hard to read, but you can just about hear what they're saying. It always works. It's worked for me in the past. So just a little bit of advice on what I use. The benefit when going portable, doing SOTA especially, will certainly improve these skills for you. Sense of adventure. So you get to visit some really remote and interesting places around the UK and the world. There's me and my good friend Alan, GW4VPX. We activated a joint activation on Bardsey Island, which is north of Wales. It was and by the way, that weather, it's not a Photoshop photo. That actually was Wales. We don't generally get a lot of days like that, but that was a normal photo. And there's me in Germany activating. I met a friend out there, and we did an activation there. And you can see in the background there's a bit of a restaurant there and pub. So a lot of the summits, as Nick was saying, he's going to Germany. If he does do some SOTA summits there, you will certainly have a good time, especially on 10-point summits, a beer after and a pizza, and you get to go down. It's nothing better than that. So what's the benefit? When going portable, there's nothing better than walking a mountain ridge and doing the hobby you enjoy doing. And then just to finish off is the awards and challenges. Now, not everyone is focused on awards, but if you are, SOTA certainly entertains in this respect. They do. You can set your own goals. There's so many different things. It's not a competition. You set all your own goals. You've got summit to summits to go along, where one summit talks to another summit. You've got a mountain goat status, which people aim for, which is 1,000 points. You can chase. There's a chasing scheme for points, but it's all about yourself setting your own goal. So it's certainly worth looking at. So the benefit is when going portable, you've achieved your set goal and get rewarded with trophies and certificates, but your own set goal, not what people are setting for you. So I get asked quite a lot, what's in my rucksack? And unfortunately, when I'm on a hill, just as I explained, all the weather conditions, snow coming down, sleet hitting you from every direction, you don't really want to say a lot over the radio. I always take this opportunity to tell everybody what's in my rucksack, what I use. So really briefly, to start off with, when I started doing portable operating, I had the reliable Yaesu FT817. And I made my own link dipole for 40 and 20 meters. Fantastic bit of kit to start off with, but once you start getting into it, SOTA is very addictive, very addictive. Once you start, it's hard to stop. And I began doing quite a lot of long days. So sometimes I could be doing 20 to 30 miles a day on the hills, taking in about 5 or 6 summits. So I found that my 817 was a little bit heavy because you have to have an external battery to push 5 watts out, it hasn't got a built-in tuner. So now and again, if you have issues, a lot of wind, antennae drops, your pole snaps, and you need a tuner, the 817 doesn't entertain. And if you have to have a tuner, you buy a separate external one, which adds more weight. So I looked elsewhere then to find another radio, and I chose the Exegu X6100, 10 watts out to the back with an external battery. Brilliant. Internal tuner built in, and it will physically tune a screwdriver on all bands. It's got a fantastic tuner. I used that for a year. Really nice radio. Or the receive wasn't the best. I was having issues with the receive. People saying that they tried to contact me and I wasn't hearing them. So I was very, very lucky to find one of these, what I'm going to show you now, and one come up for sale, and this is my current rucksack today. So I use the Elecraft KX2 with the internal tuner and the Elecraft external mic. Works a treat, amazing radio, and after testing quite a lot of equipment out over the past couple of years for people, I really think the Elecraft KX2 is up there. It's probably the best portable radio on the market for HF. I use an RS Pro 11.1 volt lithium-ion battery. This battery, I've also got a couple more 5.2 amp hour versions of this, and they'll last me all day. 6 summits, no problems with 10 watts. Fantastic battery. 3 meters of RG174 patch lead, which goes from my antennae to the Elecraft. The antennae I use is a MW0 SAW end-fed half-wave, 40 to 20 antennae. Now, as I said, I used to make my own dipoles, but there came a time where I wanted to make my pack even lighter. So a good friend of mine called Steve, MW0 SAW, makes end-fed half waves, and they're very, very lightweight. He charges £30 for them, plus about £3 postage and packaging. So I tried one out, and I haven't looked back since. I think I've got about 5 behind me in my stock here, and that's what I use on every single hill. The Elecraft tuner will also, just for reference, tune this aerial to 80 meters and 60 meters, and it does work quite well considering it's not resonant on them two at all. So it's worth looking at if you did want to start portable and you didn't want to make your own antennae. The link's there. I'll share all this information with Nick after, but really, really are fantastic antennae. And that's probably been to over 400 hills with me. Sotabeam 6-meter carbon pole. Again, extremely light. You can't even tell you've got it in your hand. It's that light. Pushes into wet ground if you need to, instead of putting a mast up and everything. You can guy it, and it'll also strap against a stake or a fence post when you're on summit, or if you're activating portable. So really, really good bit of kit. And then the accessories, my walking poles, which I use for my antenna legs to hold them up, pegs, and my guying equipment. For VHF and UHF, I use the FT65E handheld from Yaesu. Fantastic bit of kit. A 2 meters stroke 70 centimeter slim G antenna, made by Spectrum Communications. Again, after trying lots out, I really recommend them. They're fantastic antennas. He's put his price up a little bit now, but I think that's because they've gone so popular. But for how much you're paying for it, a fantastic antenna. And then a little Sotabeam's 4-meter telescopic pole to hold the Slim G up. So that's my kit. And just a bit of a tip, if anybody's interested in this and they're taking notes on this stuff, the 6-meter carbon pole, the one that was on the previous page, when you use a 2-meter antenna on that, doesn't like the SWR. It doesn't like carbon. So stay away from carbon poles if you just want to do 2 meters FM, because the carbon affects the SWR on your radio. So the rest of the rucksack, my most important parts: medical supplies, correct clothing, food and drink. The correct clothing in mine probably weighs the most. The radio stuff is quite minimal, to be fair, but in my opinion, they're the most important, especially the clothing for all weather. Keep as safe as you can. I carry the Garmin GPS Pro 66i, very good bit of equipment, and I have the FT5D that I carry with me on my rucksack front, and that has the APRS on just in case something happens to the Garmin when I'm on the hills. They both work very well together. I always put safety first. So that's my rucksack. So just going to run through a few adventures now that I've been on. So I went up to Scotland to do a Ben McDowie trek with Fraser, good friend of mine, MM0 EFI portable. Yeah, we it was a 38 kilometers route. It's a 5K bike at the start. You can see the hills in the background on that photo. And there's myself on Ben McDowie. It was quite a cold day, to be fair. It was quite a lot of snow on the higher hills, but really, really enjoyable. And there we are on the last hill, Carnmahon. The funniest thing what happened on this is we had a blackout. So these three hills were two 10-pointers and one 8-pointer when you're talking in SOTA, summits on the air language. And an 8-pointer is quite a high-pointed summit. And we had a solar storm hit us. So me and Fraser on top of the last summit, we couldn't qualify. We were there for 20 minutes, calling, snowing, weather was horrendous. But lucky for us, 20 meters just started to open. So we managed to get 4 stations in the log to qualify. But that was quite a memorable day, to be fair. We were really pleased about that. And then we had about a 6-mile hike back to the cars. But really, really good fun. The island of Alsa Crag with the family. There it is. It's a massive lump out of the southwest of Scotland. This was a funny day. We drove up on the day before, stopped the night in a hotel not far from there, and we jumped on the boat to go in the morning. It was about 45-minute, 50-minute boat trip. And when we just arrived at the island, it's just for your reference, it's about a 1.5-mile hike from sea level to the top. Hasn't been done for years. It's got 60,000 birds living on it. And the boatmen told me that you've got 2 hours to do it because of the tide. Now, 2 hours to do 1.5 miles is not bad at all. 2 hours to do 1.5 miles from sea level right to top, where it's about 1,500 foot ASL, is especially with a little one on your back, isn't a lot of time. But we managed it. I managed to get Lyra about just under 3/4 of the way, and unfortunately, Martha had to stay with Lyra, and I got to the top and activated, but only just. Great pileups, and you had to watch. Believe it or not, looking at the actual day we had the weather, the midges were really bad up there that time of year, and also the birds. You had to duck quite a lot. My coat wasn't as red as that when I got back. I can tell you that. Lake District quadruple. With glorious weather. I did St. Sunday Crag, Fairfield, Seat Sandal, and Helvellyn. That's a loop, a really nice loop. The reason why I'm bringing this up for you is all these hills are situated within about 1.5 miles as the crow flies radius, if that makes sense. They're all in like the circle. And I activated them all on 2 meters. And then being, give or take, the odd few meters higher or lower than each other, in certain parts of the hills, I was picking up stations, and in other parts of the hills, I wasn't. So it just shows you how 2 meters works and what was in the way. Even though I was kind of the same height pretty much all day, there must have been something in the way blocking my signal to certain people. So it was quite funny, really. I'd say worked 3 stations, worked one station on 3, and then he couldn't hear me on the highest, for example. It was quite bizarre. But if anybody wanted to do a nice loop in the Lake District, I do recommend them. And Helvellyn's it's a fantastic summit. Seaforth Island. So I just towards the end of last year, I went across. I don't know if anybody followed me across to the island of Lewis and Harris to activate the islands out there. So Seaforth Island was my first. To get to it, you're not allowed speedboats or powered boats around the actual island of Seaforth itself, only if you've got a permit. So I had to kayak. So it was 2.5 miles kayaking. I mean, it had to be a clear, still day for the kayaks, and gods were looking down on me on that day because it was fabulous. So if you can see my cursor, I kayaked from just around here, 2.5 miles down through here, and then started the walk there. So I started to hike from the point there on the map to the top, and the activation. I had lovely weather, and the first contact I had, which was great, was John McCullough, who's the RSGB president. So it was really nice to get John from Seaforth. And this summit was a unique. I was the first person to have ever activated it on the island. So yeah, it meant quite a lot that it was a really, really good day. Then the island of Lewis and Harris, I continued my adventure, and I did a further 8 summits on the island. These 4 being included in them. All kinds of weather. I've tried my best to get some photos of the actual weather that you do see out there. As you can see, Cape Shell there. That the one in the distance behind the rain is one I climbed. That was a really, really nasty. And none of these have ever been done before. And Mwychebol as well was just walking through bog up to your knees, sometimes up to your hips. And then Muirig, which you can see, that's my partner Martha. That was she's an M7, and that was her first time ever using the radio. So she managed to activate that unique. And then I unfortunately I had some bad news just towards the end of the trip that the 10th summit that I was planning to activate, I just couldn't get across because of the weather. The weather was too bad. So I decided to do Clisham instead, which is the highest mountain in the Outer Hebrides, which was a lovely walk, to be fair, and I had a great day. So yeah, that was good fun. North, South, and Mid Wales, done completed Wales, had some really good times there. As a friend of mine, Alid, on the left-hand side, who joined me on my final summit in North Wales. Um, Wentwood there is some of the summits that you have to try your best to put your antennae up with lots of growth around them. So that's just a photo to show you sometimes what you're traipsing through just to get the aerial up. And then yeah, the third photo is me and the little one on our way to Bryn y Fam to complete Mid Wales shortly after. So friends and family, that's one thing which amateur radio has really brought into my life. Is friends and family. So there's so many friendly people about. When I completed Wales, Steve, Kevin, and Liz came down to meet me and brought me a bottle, which was quite nice. And then not just there, it's just all around the UK, to be fair, and across the rest of the world as well. But because I purely activate in UK quite a lot, you meet quite a lot of people that come to say hello. And even when you go and do the summits, they'll actually walk a drive and park up where they know that your car is from the start, and they'll come for a chat, which is it's really, really nice. So amateur radio is brilliant in that respect to meeting new friends. And as I said before, the family comes with me. There's Martha and Lyra on their way to Trevan, and then me and Martha are at Scafell Pike in England. So it really, really, really does. It's good in this respect. Challenges and rewards. So a mountain goat activation on a Golva. There I am there. I did 178 summits within 365 days, which gave me 1,000 points to hit my first mountain goat. I was asked to join Alan. Alan's very, very well known in SOTA, GW4 VPX, on his final last summit to complete Wales. And then I ended up on Wentwood then, working there. I am working my 4th station to qualify to complete Wales. So 159 summits in 245 days that completed all the summits in Wales. The latest adventure I did, so basically the first Scottish one didn't go to plan. So what happened was just before Christmas, a week before, it was the first week of December, I have a call from the farmer who manages Pabay Island, where the final summit is, called Benishanine, from the Outer Hebrides, which has never ever been activated. And he said to me, he farms the island, and he said he's got to go and get some tops and bring them back over. He said, I don't know when it's going to be, but it'll be next week. And you're very welcome to join me. So I thought to myself, oh, right, what do I tell work? I'd got no holidays left to take. So I just had to say I've got to go. So I'm lucky I can work from home. So I chucked my laptop in the bag. Friday night, we all went up in the camper van, me, Martha, and Lyra, and got across to the island. It's 15 hours it takes from my door to the island. So it was 15 hours of traveling. We managed to get onto the island of Lewis and Harris after quite a long time. And again, as I said, the gods must have been looking down on us for this second time, because Monday was out of the question because of the weather, but Tuesday we managed to get across. We met the farmer in the morning at Liverborough Port, right at the south of the island. He took us across. and then we walked to the top of the summit, activated the summit, which was the last unique on the Mount Hebrides. Fantastic scenery, beautiful place, a lot of history. If you read up about Pabe Island, there is quite a lot of houses, to be fair, church, few graveyards on there. It was very, very interesting. And I thought it was the perfect time to drop on one knee for my partner as well. So it was quite a nice moment for us there. So that was the last summit on the Outer Hebrides completed. And as you can see, there's quite a lot of history on the island. And the farmer, which was great, had a log cabin, and he stops in it for about 2 months of the year when they're lambing. So he'd gone across there with two other workmen on the boat, and we obviously went and activated the summit and come back, and he invited us in. So he cooked us some homemade sausage rolls. We had a dram and a beer, and sat inside the log cabin having a good old chat for a good couple of hours. So again, as I said, friends, amateur radio is great, and they were just the farmers of the island. And then when we went back, we took 15 tups back with us in the boat. So it was quite funny. We had a full load on the way back. So overseas activations and exploring. I've been to Germany again, meeting friends out there. There's SOTA summits all over the world for you to activate. If you're ever going overseas to explore. There's more. There's as you were saying, Nick, before, the one you did, that's Hornisgrund, that one is, and that's quite a high summit. That's about 1,200 meters in Germany, and that's us on the top having a coffee. We did have a beer after, and a pizza, which is great. So, like I say, there's plenty of summits to activate wherever you go in the world. Mountain goat. To become a mountain goat, you kind of have to be dedicated. It's like learning CW. All kinds of weather. You've just got to get out there. I've been in some pretty rough weather, to be fair, all around the areas. But I have had nice weather too. So there's a few. Been wet quite a few times. Snow up to my knees, and you do get the nice weather with it as well, which does make it well worth it. I've done a few charity activations. One activation, I climbed Snowdon on the longest night, the shortest day, the longest night of the year, 21st of December. And I did a 2 meter activation. There's me summiting Snowdon pretty much near enough midnight. And I did 80 meters as well on top of Snowdon. Thank goodness there was no one on there. It was just me and my girlfriend. We both went, and we put 40 meters of wire up. And as I was activating the summit, I could hear this psst noise. Psst. So I turned around, and there Martha's pointing at something. And I'll kid you not now, in all honesty, there was a fox, and he was about 5 foot away from me, sitting, listening to me working a pile up on 80 meters. I've never known, I'm a farmer, and I've never known nothing like it before. He was just sat there, and he wouldn't go. He just sat with me. So I just carried on, and I kept giving him a crisp every so often. But he must have been hungry, because it was minus 18 on top that night. My companion, Mr. Brown, he doesn't come out so much anymore now. He's getting a little bit old, but he's joined me on pretty much most of the summits that I go on. So there he is with a big smile. I take him with me. The Country File. I don't know if you're aware, I did do a bit of filming on Country File. It was really good experience. Actually, walking around the island was great. So I went over to Flatholm, and I had to chase some SOTA summits to basically just show what amateur radio was all about, and what Marconi would have done back in the day. And again, I'm not too sure if anybody's aware of Flatholm Island, but it's in the Bristol Channel, and they breed gulls there, and it was yeah, they're very nasty. Gulls are when they get cross, very, very nasty. And this will always stick with me in the back of my head. I had a chance to walk around the island when I was there, and I was just told, just keep out of the filming. So it was a long day, and the filming was only probably about 45 minutes to an hour, and I think they only picked about 2-3 minutes out of the clip. But when I was there, the people that go to the island to help maintain it and rebuild it are people which have been in prison, and they just basically sent out there to work to do it voluntarily. And the one man was there, and he had to build a wall. and he'd only got probably the best part of 15 stones. And because they were filming, he just had to keep putting these 15 stones up, taking him down and putting them up, obviously until they came. And he goes, my family's going to be so proud of me, because he said this is the first time they're going to see me on telly and not crime watch. So it made me laugh. I'll always remember his face when he told me that. But again, very, very, very an interesting island. And this is what SOTA does, and operating portable. You get to see so many different things. It's great. So my conditions on that island to work as a chaser was the AZU 857, and I pushed 80 watts into a homemade 40-meter dipole, which I made the night before, and it worked. It worked well, so it was good. Contesting, worked portable quite a few times. Contesting, used to take the quad bike to a hill. That's not a SOTA Summit, that one isn't. But again, it was just operating portable. And I have done portable operating from a trig point from a SOTA Summit, as you can see there. And you can see you get results. I managed to win the 144 megahertz FM contest in 2021. So it proves that portable operating really does help you, and yeah, it really does have a success. Call-in CQ on 10 meters. Done quite a lot of call-in CQDX. Used to go up to the local hill. My old President Lincoln Mark 1. I'm pretty sure most people remember that radio, or quite a lot of you probably still got one. And I used to run the 827, Sirio 827 10-meter antennae. And yeah, I used to sit there and call, and I'd only be pushing radio power. And the amount of stations, I used to work America quite a lot from that location. So it was fantastic. Really enjoyed it. And again, 20 meters. As I mentioned before, usually get up quite early. Helicraft, KX2, 10 watts into my end-fed half wave for 20 and 40 meters. Mainly on 20 meters. Used to work Australia and New Zealand quite often early in the morning. And them two photos are exactly the same place. It's just a day, well, earlier on in the morning, and as it got lighter, and I took it a little bit to the left. So yeah, I've worked quite a few VKs and ZLs from that location before now. So just a few tips from activating portable I've learned. If you're ever going to go and activate a SOTA Summit, if I've kind of enticed you or encouraged you to go out, if you're going to go anywhere and it's got a comms tower, always look at taking a bandpass filter with you, because the comms towers do interfere with most handhelds if the radio hasn't got a good front end on it. So I always carry a SOTA Beams 2-meter bandpass filter, and they work a treat. They'll knock the noise off straight away, and you'll receive the stations, no problems. Where to get SOTA Summit routes from? SOTLAS. There's the website. I'll pass this on to Nick after. It has for the UK, for Wales and England. On SOTLAS, you've probably got a route for every single SOTA Summit. Scotland is a little bit different because it's a bit more remote. Not many people put them up because you kind of have to just look at the maps and make your own route. And Ireland is the same. But for Wales and England, all the routes are there for every single SOTA Summit that there is. And OS Maps is the software I use. I really don't think, after walking the hills for years, and before I was licensed as an amateur, I used to do a lot of hiking and climbing. And OS Maps, I don't think you will beat it, to be fair, to actually plot your route or use it as your main plotting thing. I used to carry a map with me, but I've gone bad. I do take my Garmin on my phone, and I rely on OS Maps, and it, touch wood, it's always worked for me, and I've not yet got lost. I hope it stays like that. The best place to purchase your portable equipment from, SOTA Beams. There's the website. They do everything you need really for portable operating. As long as you've got the radio, they do the poles, the masts, the antennas. I'd be tempted to go for Steve's antennae before you go to SOTA Beams. I just find it works, and it's relatively cheap. It does work well, and it's lighter. But everyone's different. Everybody's different. But if you do want any further information from me, my email address is on this presentation. So just ask the question. That's no problems. I can help with that. Portable operating goals I set myself for 2023: do more CW activations and gain my second mountain goat status. I started off 2023 with just one summit in the log on CW, and I currently finished. Well, I finished it on 142 activations, which equals 724 points. So I'm working at 25 minutes. Sorry, I'm keying at 25 words a minute now. I can key at 30, but it's pointless keying at 30 because no one comes back to you much because it's too fast. But and I can receive at 25 minutes as well. And I taught myself the end of 2022. So I'm really enjoying CW, and it's probably coming to be one of my favorite modes. I'll always activate on CW on a summit. I thoroughly enjoy it. And then I managed to hit 2,000 points on Tuesday just gone. No, sorry, that's a lie. Pabe Island. So that was Tuesday just gone before Christmas. That was on Pabe Island when I went across to Scotland in mid-December last year. So goals for this year, I want to hit Mountain Goat on CW alone. I've got about 150 points left to do. Visit and activate more remote SOTA summits because it's just amazing. You get to see so many different places. It's just phenomenal. Yeah, do it, guys, do it. And then I'd like to complete all the summits in England that I've got left to do over this next year. And just finishing off, Nick did talk to me. So what we do, we have done for the last couple of years, which has proved very, very successful. In GW in Wales, we have our own little SOTA group. So once a year, which we used to hold it in July. This year we're going to do it in June because it's just rained. July is our summer. We've just had 2 awful Julys, so I'm going to bring it forward to June this year. So we have something called a Summit to Summit and Hog Roast get together. So what we do is I advertise it about 5 months before. I've already asked the question, and people are already they asked me last year when's the date, but it's going to be in June. So we all turn up and go on a hill. It's not just Wales. It can be the world, but this is just the Wales thing we do. And then everybody, that the word is spread, and everybody goes out to local hills, if that makes sense, all over the world. And we have a summit to summit morning where everybody works each other from all the summits. And then once we finish that, we meet back about 3 p.m. In the afternoon. And we have the first year we had a barbecue. The only problem with the barbecue was, as I was explaining to Nick, I was doing it and I felt like I was running around and I couldn't talk to anybody, and I felt quite, I wanted to get involved and talk and say hello. These people I talk to on a daily or a weekly basis, and I'm just stuck there with my head down cooking. So I didn't find it worked the best for me. Everybody else seemed to love it, but the following year, which was last year, what we said was, we all used to pay £5 into a hat for the barbecue. So I asked the question, and everybody, without a doubt, said they'd pay £10 straight away, and we just all put £10 in a pot, and we ordered a proper hog roast company to come in, and they did all the food, and it was enough money to pay for the food and cater for the toilet. We have a toilet on site, and we also do a raffle on the day, and then all the money that we raise in the raffle is put to the SOTA management account for them running the website servers and everything, and keeping them running. So that's what we do, and it's really well. We had about 30 people at the first one, and 45 people at the second one, and there it is. And then we've basically, hopefully this next one, I've had people, wanting to fly over to come and activate in Wales and come and meet us all. So that's pretty much the GW team, which is quite active. So it really, really does work, and it's great. It's a great team builder, because we've got to remember we're talking to these people weekly, definitely 3 or 4 times a month. So it's lovely to meet them face to face to say hello. And yep, just to finish off, I've got a YouTube channel, but I'm sorry to tell you, it's dreadful. It is dreadful. There's about 3 or 4 things on there. It's quite good stories, but to be a YouTuber, you've got to put your full time into it to be a professional YouTuber, and I have not got, unfortunately, the time. But what I can say, I've got a really, really good friend called Fraser, Mike 0 Echo Foxtrot India, and he's got a brilliant YouTube channel, probably one of the better ones out there for portable work. And he explains how it's done, and there's no messing. He's to the point how it is really done. And I really recommend you watch some of his videos and subscribe. And as they say, give him a like, because he does give some really, really good information on there of what he uses, what can be used, and so on and so forth. And there's my email address if anybody would like to contact me to ask me any questions or anything or any feedback. That'd be great. So on that note, that's the end of my presentation, and I'd like to wish everybody a happy new year. And I don't know if Nick's told you. Yeah, I'll let Nick tell you after that. I haven't been feeling myself.
Ben, I don't know about everyone else. I'm exhausted by your talk. It was fabulous. And I was just thinking of one or two of those activations you've done, that involve a really, really long walk to go up all those different hills. But that was brilliant, Ben. I really enjoyed it. I'm sure everyone else did. So shall we, you don't mind, just bring down the screen share so everyone can see properly.
Perfect.
That's it. Brilliant. Thank you. And we'll throw it open for any questions or comments or points that anyone wants to raise. So over to you. Who wants to go first? Yes, go on, Bob. Bob, you're on mute. You need to unmute.
I was curious. I'm getting rather up in years. How much do you think that your rucksack weighs on average?
I would most probably say, Bob, about 12, anything from 12 to 15 kilos on a long walk. When I'm actually doing local summits where it's about a 2-mile walk, if that makes sense, that is like a little bag which clips around your waist, and that fits everything in with a bottle of water and a couple of snacks, and that's probably about 5 kilos at the most, Bob. And that's what I use
more
for
my
them.
speed. Yeah, that's more my speed. Yes, thank you for that.
It's okay.
Yeah, that's Bob. That's a good question, because a few of us here, just down the road from where I am, here in the Southern Pennines, decided to activate one of the summits, and I was being over excited by taking up my 12-meter SOTA pole, the one of the spider poles, which weighs something like 25 kilograms by itself,
They're heavy.
and an ICOM 706 and a battery. So I had a fabulous aerial, and but my back was hurting like anything by the time I got to the top. But it was one of those days when the propagation was absolutely dire. So we made a few contacts into Europe and really didn't get the benefit of it. So, being careful with what you carry, particularly if you're doing any longish walks, is definitely a good bit of advice, isn't it, Ben?
Yeah, most certainly. And as I said in my presentation, the majority, Bob, of my heavy rucksack when I'm on a long day is a first aid kit and clothing. Clothing's key. Clothing is key, because you need to, if you get wet, you've got to change. It's key.
Just before I go to anyone else on the Zoom channel here on YouTube, just a couple of people. Terry G7WRS, who came with me up the SOTA summit here at Freehold, we said evening and happy new year to you. Chris M0RSF has said, it's an excellent presentation. Thanks, Ben. Looking forward to more SOTA to SOTA this year. So I think you probably know Chris. Who else has commented here? Neil M0NJH. Great presentation, Ben. Very inspiring. I've done a few overseas SOTA activations, but the maps and information about access to the summits can be a bit sketchy. What maps or information do you use to plan your activation? I think you partly answered that, but I'll put that over to you to see if you've got any more advice to give him, Ben.
Yeah, the one thing, and I'll say Happy New Year to everybody as well that's commented. Thank you very much. It's a hard one, that is, Nick, because I use OS maps, and pretty much we're very lucky around this area because it says on the SOTA website what you are and what you can't do, what's private and what's not. But when I'm going abroad to activate, if there's not a route up on SOTLAS, so the answer to the question is SOTLAS should have one on that website that I've got, which I will share with you, Nick. If there's not, I'll always find, which you can find on the SOTA website, the association manager for that area. If there's nothing up for the summit at all, and I'll pop him an email and just ask, is it is it accessible, and can I do it? And they'll always reply. They're very good. But OS Maps usually has, even when you're abroad as well, walkways and right of ways on them.
Lovely, thank you, Ben. And if I'm right, I think on the SOTA website itself, there are some links to people who have reported issues about their walk type and which is the best route and which they found the most helpful. So when I've done it, I found that quite helpful, just to go and take other people's advice really about what they found worked for them and see if it works. Okay, who else has got a question or comment they want to put to Ben this evening? Yeah, go on, Roger.
Yeah, thanks, Ben. Very entertaining, really interesting. Congratulations to you and Martha. Good to see you involving Lyra at a young age. That's really good. I did see you on Countryfile, but I think they owe you about another 13 minutes of fame there, don't they? The question I've got is, when you stopped, not so much when you're walking, but when you stopped, what's your least favourite weather? You've got cold, wind, rain. Which is your least favourite?
Oh, my least favorite. Well, happy New Year, and thanks for the kind words to start off with. My least favorite weather is I don't like the wind. I'm odd. I've been activating with quite a few friends, joint activations, and they put shelters up, and I'm really bad. I just lie on the floor. I'm so used to activating on my own, where I kind of just hunch up in a ball and just have my log in front of me, if that makes sense. And the wind is what gets me. Raining on top of me, I'm not too fussed, but wind, I'd say, when you're sat there for quite a while and the wind's blowing, it can be a warmish day, but if you've got a lot of wind, it can really start to make you feel cold quite fast. So the wind for me is the nastiest weather. Yeah,
it's a difficult one. I would have said wind or rain, but when you stopped, you go cold very quickly, don't you? If the wind's up, it really takes the heat away from you.
Yeah, and another thing is your antennae. The wind it can blow the pole down on time. So the wind isn't the nicest.
No, right. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Roger. Anyone else with a question or comment to Ben?
Can I ask a question?
Yes, go on, AD. Yeah, far away.
Yeah, is there a place for sideband on 2 meters now? Did it years ago, but what's the situation now, Ben?
Yeah, do you know what? Funny thing you said that, because I had a friend down yesterday or the day before on a summit activating to 2 meter sideband. It still gets used, but nowhere near as much as it should. So if you fancy going to activate 2 meter sideband, put it out there, because there's so many people that really would love to work you, but unfortunately I don't know why it's kind of slowed down, because 2 meter sideband was a very popular band to use, but it has slowed down now. But I don't know will anybody kind of agree with me on this, but over the last year and a half, personally, I have found that 2 meters FM has gone very, very quiet. When I'm used to activate a couple of years ago, like 3 years ago, from the hills, 2 meters FM, you'd be up for a really good 20 to 30 stations in the log from a summit. Today, you struggle to get 4, and from high summits as well now and again. So I don't know. I put it down to the summer was with us last year, so I thought maybe people are out doing things. And then I said that the winter would obviously hopefully encourage people because they'd be in their shacks because it's a bit cooler. But no, it didn't work. It was very quiet. So so no, 2 meter sideband's quiet, but it needs to pick up. It'd be good if it did.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Eddie. Brian, you're a 2 meter guy as well. Put your point.
Yes, okay. Good evening, Ben. I've worked you many times from many hills, but there we go. Unfortunately, I'm not able to climb hills anymore. But I used to be a member of the Long Distance Walkers Association. And back in the 80s, I used to carry a handheld, an IC2E handheld. I don't know if you'll remember them, but some of the older members will. And I used to always try and get a contact from a trig pillar. When we were walking past the trig pillar, I had to stop there and try and make at least one contact. There was no awards, no nothing in them days. That was it. And then as years have gone by, I managed to persuade WAB to run the trig pillar award. And I've activated a lot of trig pillars now on both 2 meters, not so many on HF because of carrying the equipment, but certainly on 2 meters. And I find you've got to go out on a Sunday morning to get the 2 meter contacts. If you go during the week, there's nobody there. If you go on a Sunday morning, catch them just after the news program, you manage to get them. And there we go. And I've loved doing trig pillars. Finding them has been another thing. Many of them you can be within, well, I've been nearly stood next to them and not seen them because they're hidden in the hedgerows and all the rest of it. And so that's been fun as well. But anyway, there we go. So thanks, Ben, for all your activations. I've worked many of them from you. And, well, I'm looking forward to some more. Thank you.
No, thank you very much, Brian. I recognize the call sign now because I've slid my screen across to see everyone talking. And yeah, G0BFJ. Yeah, no, but you're very, very right about that. When we didn't used to have the spotting programs, I'm very lucky I started doing the scheme when we had the spotting programs. But back then, it probably was much harder. But yeah, you're right about the weekend, especially on a Sunday. You do get more contacts, but in the week it's very, very quiet, which is a shame, but hopefully things will change.
Yeah, well, we'll see. I think sideband as well is difficult because there are not many transceivers with 2 meters sideband on anymore. They're very selective.
Yeah, that's true. Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah, thank you, Brian and Ben, for the reply there. Brian and Barry in our club are two that have been regular activators of the trig points and had a lot of fun with it. So thanks for the question there, Brian. Just before coming back to the people in the room here again on YouTube, Neil again, M0NJH, says it's worth mentioning SOTA Watch, particularly the text facility to self-spot when calling CQ to alert chases of frequency and mode.
Yes, yeah. SOTA Watch and SOTA Spotter are brilliant tools, and they 100% work, no doubt about it. Yeah, you can test the waters and prove it by going to a summit and picking a frequency and calling CQ, and you will get the odd 1 or 2 passes by as they're flicking up the band. But as soon as you put a spot on SOTA Spotter, yeah, wow. You don't know what's hit you sometimes, especially if it's a unique summit. You do get a lot of stations calling, but vice as well as spotting. SOTA Watch is great as well, as Neil said, for the chasers. So they can watch for when people have spotted on a frequency that they can go and call into them and see what frequency they're on.
Okay, thank you, Ben. Anyone else with a question or comment to put to Ben? We've got in our club, Ben. I'm going to embarrass them and get them to say something now. Mike and Adriana from Germany, who are members of our club, who do a lot of portable operating, not so much SOTA peaks, and big mountains, but they do go out doing a lot of portable. So just give you an opportunity, either or both of you, just to make a couple of comments to Ben.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you for the nice talk, Ben. It was very enlightening and very interesting. And of course, we haven't got so much real summits here in northern Germany where we live. The next one must be, I think, about 350 kilometers to our southeast here. But nevertheless, we try to get out mostly in the summertime, of course, but also in spring and fall time, autumn time, and try to work from isolated spaces or from some points near the North Sea, which is not far away, about 30 miles to our north. And so we have had some very nice experiences there, very nice results. And that was very, very interesting. Thank you very much for all the advice. And perhaps we can even here in northern Germany find some spots to go on and to climb upon. And realize what you were saying. That was very, very good. Thank you very much again.
No, thank you, Mike and Adrian. Thank you very much, and I'll say Happy New Year to yourselves as well. And I'm very fortunate that my job role, I work with Germany, so I get to travel to it's Frankfurt Airport, and I usually drive down to Brussels. I think that's how you pronounce it, Brussels. And within an hour radius of Brussels, there's quite a lot of SOTA summits, which is quite good. So I generally tag on a couple of SOTA summits with a business trip at the same time. So it's all good fun, and it's a lovely part of the world you have there anyway. So, but thank you very much for the kind words, and hopefully we might work each other this year.
That would be excellent. We will be looking out for your call sign.
Yeah. Thank you.
Okay, do we have any other people want to put any comments or questions to Ben? If not, I mean, I've just got a couple of points I want to make. I'm going to add one to your list at the beginning about the benefits of walking with your dog and so on. I'm going to add to it walking with your grandson. Just before Christmas, my 5-year-old grandson was staying with me, who's fascinated with all the radios. So he wanted to go up on a hill at the back of where I live here so on my background there, that's where I live, up in the Southern Pennines. So we've got some nice hills. They're not SOTA summits. The nearest SOTA summit is about 3 miles down the road. But so we walked up on one of the hills, which he loves. He loves that hill. But he said to me, I want you to take a radio with you. So I think he rather thought I was going to take one of my big poles and my ICOM 705 and so on up this hill. Instead, I picked up one of my Yaesu 2m77s handheld and took it to the top of the hill. And he said, "You're going to get your radio out there?" I said, "Yes." So I pulled it out, and he said, "That's not a radio," he said. "That's just a walkie-talkie." And I put out a CQ call on 2 meters FM, and I worked 3 stations. But he suffered with the same issue that Rachel was raising earlier. He then didn't want to put himself on the microphone, so I was inviting him to say hello to them. But people said hello to him, but we haven't yet got him to talk on the microphone, but I'm sure I will do. But I was put down. I was put down, telling me that I just brought a walkie-talkie with me.
Them walkie-talkies work well now and again.
I think the other comments I wanted to make on your talk, you mentioned people who stop to talk to you when you're out in the radio. And I've had an awful lot of that. You don't have to go up a mountain or hilltop to do that. You know, we have a field, a farmer's field in a small village called Farnley Tyas in West Yorkshire, just south of Huddersfield, that the club has access to, that we use over the summer months when we can get on the field safely. It's very, very often that we have walkers just walking their dogs or walking around, or We have horse riders that come up there, and inevitably every time we're there, someone always stops and asks, "What are we doing? And what are you doing? And who are you talking to?" And they're always very, very surprised what you're up to. The other thing I've found is that what they particularly enjoy is hearing Morse code. And if I had £1 for every person that had come to me and said, my dad or my granddad used to be in the Army, the Navy, the Air Force, and was a Morse code operator, a granddad who was in the Second World War and so on, came over, were just fascinated and didn't know that people still did Morse code. So I tend nowadays, when I'm up running portable, particularly on CW, if the band conditions are okay, is to run it to a speaker so that people are attracted to it when they're walking past and come over and talk, because, as you say, it's a way of selling the hobby, isn't it?
Yeah. No, you generally you do get quite a lot of people. CW does 100% attract more people than voice, and it makes me laugh now and again because they want to talk to you, and I'm very polite. I always like to talk and explain what I'm doing. But next time you're there, Nick, try and talk and continue working on the radio. It's very hard. So you kind of have to tell them, don't you? Just one second, and just say that you're just popping away for a few minutes. But yeah, you're right. Yeah, the amount of people I've had ask me the questions and saying that they've had relatives. They've got relatives, or their past relatives used to do Morse code. It's great, and to see it still happening is even better. And as I was saying, I don't know if you can see, but that is it's not as big as it looks by the camera, but that's what we have with SOTA. So if you got your smartphone out and just scanned that, it would take you straight to the website and tell you all about SOTA. So yeah, just saying about when people ask, I usually have it on my cap and one on my bag, so it's quite handy if they wanted to know more.
Yeah, we could do a similar thing. We could do a QR code for our own club website.
Yeah,
People could look at that. We've got a club committee meeting next week, and one of my suggestions to the club committee was that we should plan to do a SOTA summit locally. We've got a lovely one over in Holmfirth, outside Holmfirth in West Yorkshire, that a few of us have been up in the last few years a few times, called Black Hill.
I know Black Hill. Yeah,
got a lovely takeoff into Wales.
Yeah.
It would be good for some of us to go and do that. But I was going to suggest to the club committee, so we can talk about it next week, guys. But I was going to suggest to the club committee that we just drop a note out to local clubs around us here, and seeing if we can get a bit of interest from a few different clubs to go and do a few hills. And if we've got people that, like Brian was saying earlier, that absolutely now doing a SOTA summit in most places is too difficult, but just to go and do a portable operation from somewhere and join in working stroke P, I think would be a great way of adding to your activity day that you're doing based from Wales, and we can spread it out a bit across Yorkshire and Lancashire and so on and Derbyshire, in the locality around us here. That might be good fun.
That sounds really, really good, and I'll have a date. I've promised the team I'll come up with a date by the end of this week. So I'll share that date with you, Nick, before your next committee meeting. And yeah, that'll be great. It'll be sometime in June. I'd have probably thought earlier June, because the seasons have sort of turned in the UK, haven't they? We seem to get our summer in June. May and June. So yeah, I think saying we'll have it early June will be, fingers crossed, better weather, because we have quite a lot of rain in July and August gone. So, but I'll share it with you.
We did up here. July here was absolutely dire. We had rain virtually every day. It was awful, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Living in England in particular, it was pretty bad, and Scotland as well. Right. Anyone else? Yeah, Stephen, you've got your hand up. You need to unmute, Stephen.
Done. I was up on the Dunstable Downs near Luton with Stephen, who was on earlier, but he's gone as well now. And he was using his portable small radio. I'm not sure of the make of it now, but I'll ask him again. And he was using Morse, and we were picking up Japan and Moscow, two people talking between Japan and Moscow from the Dunstable Downs, which was quite amazing. And he was also doing, we're also doing voice as well.
Yeah, that is. I myself still haven't been able to contact, even though I activate all different kinds of hours into Japan, but Japan or China or anything like that would be a really good contact. You generally get if you sat. You have to be quite patient, but if you sat by the radio in the mornings, you will start to hear VK. And I know people say about conditions if there's a lift on and propagation, but I think if you're patient enough, most mornings you'll hear a VK station. You've just got to be there at the right time when the grey line comes in. But Japan or that part of the world is that's yet to come for me, hopefully. But no, that was really good. Did you call him back, Stephen? Did you manage to work them?
I'm only a listener, I'm afraid. I don't.
Yeah.
I think Stephen tried, but they weren't. But they weren't picking up his message.
Yeah, picking up.
He was trying. He was calling out, but
that was pretty good. That was very good to hear him. It's really I would
very interesting.
hope.
I'm sorry Stephen isn't here now. He was on earlier.
Yeah, that would have been a very interesting contact.
He lives up in Scotland, and when I was up with my brother up at Loch Jewish, not far from Kyle, we were sailing around. He was using his radio then, but he was only very local. He wasn't. We weren't picking up anybody particularly far away. It was just mainly around those who did come in came from Scotland.
Yes, yeah,
which was interesting.
I can say to you, Stephen and Ben, Ian 2E0 ISD, who's on the call tonight, made his, and he was blown away because he's been perfecting his CW for 2 or 3 years now, having got his original foundation license. And he was calling CQ from the club field, portable, with running about 20 watts, I think, into a small antenna, and was just amazed to be called by a Japanese station. And I happened to be there at the time, and I filmed the QSO, and Ian didn't know this until later on, but I then emailed the JA station who he worked to tell him it was Ian's first ever CW contact into Japan. And I sent him a link to the video we put up on our YouTube channel. And Ian, the first I knew that Ian knew about it was receiving in the post a week or so later a QSL card from Japan. It's fantastic that operating portable with simple equipment and a simple antenna, you can make those sorts of contacts. So you will get into JA, Ben. It will happen for sure.
Yeah. I've worked like I said, I've worked JA and China, FT8 from home, pushing power, but never from a summit. But it's an interesting point, that is, Stephen, and as you say, Nick, about Ian, it's hopefully it'll come. But no, well done. That's really good going.
I'll let Stephen know.
Yeah, go. Sorry, Stephen. Yeah, go on.
No, I was going to say I'll let my other Stephen know. He was on earlier.
The other thing is, Ben, we've got one of our club members who's not here tonight, Ken G4VZV. He does a lot of portable operating from the salt lagoons in Alicante, where he goes out regularly for several weeks of the year. And of course, he's just working DX non-stop.
Yeah.
Specific VKZL. But he's very handy to be friendly with, because he posts it on our WhatsApp group. So when I was camping in France last year in the Dordogne, running a very simple vertical dipole, I think, and 20, 30 watts. Ken had said he's on there now. Anyone want to join in? And I called in to him, and then he facilitated for me about 6 QSOs into VK, one after the other. And I kind of thought I probably would never have even broken the pilot for these guys.
Yeah.
You can have a bit of fun sometimes, piggybacking on someone else who's making those contacts that you know.
Yeah, no, it makes sense.
Well, look, with Ben, we will, obviously you'll drop me a note about what date you pick, and hopefully that will be before our committee meeting next week, and we can approach other clubs in across the north of England here and see if we can get some of them interested, as I think we will be in activating, 1 or 2 SOTA summits and some portable operating as well. Obviously, the geography is probably slightly wider than you do for your SOTA and your hog roast, because we're probably looking at a swathe of the country up here, 150, 200 miles across, and people probably aren't going to travel that far for a hog roast after having been out working portable somewhere. But I'm sure we can come up with some innovative ideas to join in and support you.
That'll be fantastic. But like I say, if there is anybody that wants to have a bit of a break in Wales and activate a summit in Wales, they're very, very welcome to call by and have a hog roast with us. It'd be fantastic to see you.
Okay, thank you, and bonsoir and au revoir to Gerald and Denise, who I think are out in France at the moment. So good evening to you both. Nice to see you.
Thank you, Nick. 73s to Ben as well. Thank you. Great talk, Ben.
Thank you very much.
It was really good. Very tempting. 73s, everybody.
Cheers.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Cheers. Thanks, Ben.
Jeff, you got your hand up. Yes, Jeff.
Yeah, thank you, Ben, for beautiful presentations there. And I'm sure you'll be a great asset to the RSGB now that you're on the board as well. As far as SOTA is concerned, Tom and Jimmy used to come down to my other club, Oldham, quite a few times to present SOTA, and we thoroughly enjoyed their presentations, and what a good evening we've had the tide. And also worth noting that nearly 50% of the people on the call tonight are also on our digital D-Star net on a Thursday evening. Thanks very much indeed, Ben.
Thanks, Jeff. Thanks for the kind words. And and look forward to maybe working you this year as well.
Okay, lovely. Ben, can I give you and just pass on great thanks for your talk tonight. It was really entertaining, really enjoyable. Can we all show our appreciation the normal way, everyone? Thank you. And Ben, I didn't mention it because your voice seemed to be holding up, but earlier today, Ben and I had a chat because Ben had told me he'd been rather unwell for the last few days and was slightly concerned his voice might cave in or might not be able to do it. And I said to him, look, if the worst comes to worst and you can't do it, don't worry, we can reorganize it and just go when you need to go. So you've done a cracking job tonight, Ben. Thank you very much.
No, thank you very much. And I'm really glad my voice did keep up, because I've really been looking forward to this evening and meeting everybody. So again, thank you very much for the kind words, and maybe be back next year.
Okay, thanks, Ben. 73s. I'm going to close the YouTube channel. So thank you to all our watchers on YouTube tonight. I hope you've enjoyed it as well. And I'll close the recording here as well and say good night formally. But we'll, as we know in the club, once the